Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope you're live. I think we are. Let us know in the comments if you're not, because I'd like to know that sooner than later. But I think we are. And today I'm excited because I have a good friend coming on to talk to us about Webflow. Instead of me trying to explain what Webflow is, I'm going to introduce Carlos. So let me bring him in just a moment here. So, hey, Carlos, what's up? How's it going today?
Everything's going fantastic. Thank you, man. A
Nice,
pleasure to be
nice.
here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to have you here. I was gonna say it's funny how we met because we were both flying and we were sitting next to each other and we just started talking and like having conversation, and you told me like what you did, and like to me I think that's pretty wild because like you said, like isn't it crazy how we met on the plane and now here we are doing a live stream. Yeah, it's like the power of networking and
Yeah, yeah.
talking to people,
Actually,
not being shy.
that's really special. I mean, just we met on a plane. We didn't know that we were like doing. We were in the same kind of industry. We shared some thoughts, and here we are, just talking about Webflow today.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we jump into the topic of like what Webflow is, I've heard about it. Like I saw, well, kind of what it is, but I've never really like played with it. So I'm really like happy to have you here. And so before we get too far, let's talk about how did you get started with Webflow? Like just give it like introduce yourself, give a little like personal story, like how you got started with Webflow, what gets you excited about it, because I think it's important for people to learn who you are first before talking about Webflow. Let's go.
All right, so it's hard to tell a short story because I didn't expect to be doing web design and web development at the beginning. Um, I started probably like many people here in Latin America, just wondering about the future. Probably that's the case for everybody in the world, right? So, but I really want to start doing something really special because the opportunities here is very are very hard. So even if you have a very good job, it doesn't mean that it's going to be well paid here in Latin America. So I was just digging around and gathering information about how to do some income. Then I found PowerPoint as a tool for making professional presentations. But short story, I just end up like trying to leveling up the skill sets based on what I learned in PowerPoint because I just needed to learn graphic design for doing well a great PowerPoint. And at the end, I just mix it with web design, and at the end, I learned Webflow directly. So I didn't come from WordPress or Wix or things like that, because many people that I know are coming from other kind of platforms. I just jumped into Webflow directly without hesitation after I knew it. So yes, that's more or less my story.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. I think like it's also interesting side of the story, like living outside of US and talking about, the job market and finding opportunities. Cause I feel like what people don't realize living in United States, we're kind of like lucky in some sense where a lot of people from other countries, just for many reasons, like it's much harder to either land a job, find a job, or to find something that could support you. So it's amazing, like that you're doing the thing and it's working for you, and it'll be like a great thing to share as well because a lot of people that watch my channel are not just from United States, and they are literally trying to figure out like should we learn like to code, what other options do we have like to give us a skill that we could use to create an income and allow us to work not just in our country but maybe doing some remote work and stuff like that. And I think like that's another reason I was excited to Webflow because instead of waiting to become like a complete developer that takes years and such a hard journey and so hard to get a job, you could literally start learning, but you could also start using Webflow. And while you're learning, have these powerful tools to allow you to build, business websites for clients. And to me, it's like very powerful because you don't have to wait until you finish learning, and it allows you to get to the income, if you will. Of course, not as guaranteed, and you have to work hard, and you still have to learn the thing. And that, like, I have to say that because sometimes people think the tools that we use is like a magic bullet. It's not. You still have to develop the skill. But yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. So tell us about, like, how would you describe Webflow and what it is, and what problem does it solve?
All right. So, Webflow, what it is to me, after learning a lot of what it is, I can summarize. And well, I'm not a complete expert in Webflow, by the way, so I won't mention myself like the guru of Webflow, but at least I have like decent experience over the past 5 years that I've been using it. So I would say it is the best um, tool that provides you visual design, but while building a website. Like it really gives you the opportunity to really put block by block the correct structure, but visually. So it's really, really handy for developers and for designers. So it's right in the middle point of design and development. So it's great.
Yeah, that's a really good description, actually, being like that middle point. And um, what a lot of people like, you know, always trying to find tools that make the design process like quicker and faster. Now, I do have a question. When you use Webflow, do you start right in Webflow, or do you use like Figma to create the design first before moving into Webflow? Like, what is your workflow when working with it?
Okay, so the end product about building websites is, um, well, it really doesn't matter what you use for building websites. The end product is kind of the same. It's HTML and CSS. You can use Framer, WordPress, and any other kind of CMS to produce websites. Even for design, you can use whatever you have, what is handy for you and works for you. So it doesn't matter if you're using Figma or any other tool, but Figma seems to be the most appropriate tool right now for the industry to start doing designs on it. So it really helps you to collaborate with other people, other professionals in your team. If you're working with a team, or if you're a solopreneur or a freelancer that wants to share your work with the client, it's also very handy. So, yeah, the process right now, as it is currently nowadays, is that you start designing in Figma because it provides you the quickness about how to style things very easily and fast. Then it gives you also the opportunity to visualize the properties, the actual CSS properties, if there is a case of needing that. And then you can just export the assets that you're creating from Figma to Webflow. Again, Webflow is a tool that allows you to build websites fast and visually. So that's how more or less the process. You start with some planification, which actually didn't mention, but yes, planification is very important before jumping into Figma because you have to establish what are the goals for the website and what is the strategy that you're going to follow. What is the complete surroundings or the complete context that is going to be around your project. Then you develop the assets that resonates with what you are planning. You develop that in Figma, then you export that to Webflow, and in Webflow you produce the website with proper techniques and conventions.
Nice. That's really, really, really awesome. So, what kind of websites can you build with Webflow, or what is the recommended website?
I would say um, marketing websites in Webflow are very accurate. And I mean by marketing websites is websites that allows you to put information in the manner that you like, or
Yep.
probably that is very objective with your planification, your initial planification. So uh, to me, Webflow is a little weak in terms of e-commerce
Yep.
compared to other solutions like Shopify. And it requires a lot of work to develop any other solution that is not marketing websites. So marketing
Yeah.
websites is basically just putting a landing page for your product or service, and in a very professional way. But it also allows you to connect it with the third-party integrations, and also obviously to put like external links if you need to for your website. So, but yeah, probably that's the most appropriate
Yeah.
approach for
What's
Webflow marketing
crazy, like,
websites.
I talk to a lot of people and everybody's like, oh, I want to build like these crazy applications. I want to do this, and not realizing there's like a huge market for marketing websites. And I have a friend who actually does very like low code and no code tools. And his base price is $100 an hour. Like, he's in the States, and he's not like what you would call a traditional developer. He just understands like, hey, there's a need for marketing websites, and he picked it as his niche, and he's like, I'm going to get as good as I can literally just making these type of sites, and he was able to create a very successful business around it. So like, the reason why I say this is that a lot of people, like when they think about development, they think of like, I have to work at Google, not realizing that no, at the end of the day, what you need to do is solve a customer's problem. And that could be many different ways. You could specialize in e-commerce sites. You could specialize in marketing sites. You could specialize, working just for a specific industry, like in small businesses. I had a friend who used to literally just make martial art websites, and that's how he made his money, which is like for like martial arts schools, and there's like plenty. And so like, you find a niche and you do it, and Webflow is a good tool for it. So can you talk about like the concept of no code or low code, and why is it useful?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, Webflow belongs to what we call like no code tool. Well, or low code is more appropriate, because sometimes, most of the times, probably 90% of the times, you're going to need at least some kind of lines of code just to solve a particular situation in your website. So it was sold to me. Actually, that's a nice story, because I saw Webflow as an opportunity to start doing business at the web design, web development industry, because it was offered like no code tool. And I was like, oh my God, I don't need to develop anything. I don't need to know like uh, languages for development. So I was really intrigued about that, and I entered the world of no code without knowing that Webflow was a no code tool uh, that belongs to this kind of environment of no coding tools. So being said that, there is an environment of things that works together, like it's complementary. So Webflow works as your visual designer for a website, but probably you're going to need like a marketing engine, like MailChimp, something like that. MailChimp is like your email manager that you can do
Yep.
many cool things like campaigns, but you also can automate things. So
Yep.
probably that's probably that's the word that describes no coding, like automation. So how can you do less and leverage many of the things that you are doing, but using no code tools that allows you to automate and go faster with solutions that you need? Because no coding is like pre-made solutions that are more friendly with regular users.
Yeah.
I would say regular, but yeah, probably people who is related with the industry that they are working on.
Yeah, the crazy point you bring on is like this idea of like not overthinking things and using available tools that exist. And so as a developer, I talk to a lot of developers, and I think a lot of them like over engineer things. But I also come from a marketing world before switching to development, and uh, I know many people that have literally created, which a lot of developers, they kind of like like they're like, oh, this is like, that doesn't count. It counts, but like they used like WordPress, like you could use like Webflow, and they created solutions for businesses, and they got paid. And to me, I'm like, if you're getting paid for the work that you're doing, like you can't complain. And so I think a lot of people have to understand is that there's many avenues and paths to take. And again, depending on what your niche is, and the biggest thing, especially if I'm going to say it from the standpoint, like, let's say you start working as a freelancer and like solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, your goal is to be able to have a very fast workflow where you're able to build clients' projects like quickly, efficiently, and effectively, and create a good product at the end. Because when you work for yourself, the goal is how many clients can I work with in a span of like, let's say, like a month. And because the more work you do, the more money you'll make. And so the idea is learning the tools and utilizing things like Webflow, because yes, I could probably code something myself, but I will tell you using something like Webflow to get the project started, or even bring it all the way to the end, will save you a lot of time. And time is important, you know. So
Yes, time is like time's on the is on the essence. Like, uh, why to go in that kind of curvy road and very long path if you can just take shortcuts with no coding tools? So that's basically the concept that you want to approach with it.
yeah,
And
there's like some
yeah,
good comments. I was going to say, Brian says, Brian is a good friend of mine. Started using Webflow to do mockups for an internal tool I'm building at work. Really, really awesome. Bram also says, also the onboarding cost is interesting. You know, yeah, like, and I think it's just very important is just to understand there's tools that exists and you want to use something that helps you. I remember, and a lot of my developer friends would be like, "What are you doing, Paul?" But back in the day, and I wouldn't do this now, but I literally used to build small business website with WordPress. And when I say build, all I would do is buy themes and then set them up for clients. And it was like the quickest and easiest way at the time to build websites. And I think like now we have more modern tools and like we have Webflow, and you're able to do those things. And to me, like if you're getting paid, it doesn't matter how you get to the end product. You know what I mean? And so like it's kind of funny because I know a lot of people who embrace the tooling, embrace the low code, no code, have really good clients able to accomplish stuff. And then I have people like friends who are like really like super deep into development, but they don't live together. Like it's like if they come to one room, it's like all the low code people will be on one side, all the developers will be on the other side. And I think it's a shame because at the end of the day, it's like, are you accomplishing the goal that you set for yourself? And I think that's important. So speaking about using Webflow, no code, low code, how's, what is it use in like the web industry? Like, are there opportunities? Of course they are, but like, what is the lay of the land when it comes to someone deciding to use Webflow and looking to find jobs?
great question. I really consider myself as a very lucky guy because probably I end up doing business without expecting it to happen it very suddenly. So I'm going to tell my story in a very summarized way. You can probably take notes about it. So I started, like as I mentioned at the beginning, I started doing some professional PowerPoint presentations. So I was delivering professional presentations, and my tool was PowerPoint by that time. It helped me to build my skills on graphic design, but at the end, I took the decision to go into web design. So I need to learn about the concepts of web design. But then I needed a tool to apply the concepts. So I jumped into Webflow, and I was doing PowerPoint in Upwork, the platform, Upwork.com. That's where I started.
Nice.
So basically, I built my client list or my client database in Upwork, and yeah, I started to just basically told my clients, hey, by the way, I know that I made this presentation for you, but now I'm doing web design, so I'm using Webflow. I really recommend you Webflow. I just started to email them like, hey, I'm doing Webflow, I'm doing web design on this with this tool. I made a video presentation, like me working on the tool, me publishing sites, and I started to basically to take it really, really, really in the professional way, and that's obvious, the obvious path that you have to do. Like if you are doing something serious, you have to go and do it in a very professional way and communicate it. So it's very important that you communicate the things that you are doing to the people that or the network that you have. So I started receiving a couple of emails from people like, "Hey, what's that? So can you tell me more about the tool that you're using? Probably it could be interesting to apply like this marketing website that we are building. So we can give you an opportunity to use it in our company." And out of nowhere, like to be serious and to be honest, just 1 week after I started emailing people that I worked in the past about Webflow, I received my first job opportunity, like just 1 week
Nice.
after it. So it was really, really, really lucky. Lucky. It was basic stuff, um, but I couldn't offer more than that. But I was lucky that the client asked for basic stuff, so I was very lucky. And but I got paid around $20 per hour, and at the end, like after 3 days of working, so I made like around 300 in 3 days of working. I know that probably that's not much for United States, but for Latin America, that's a big
It's good.
deal.
Yeah. This is what like a lot of people don't understand. You know, is people in America are so lucky, and some of the other countries not realizing that the rest of the world, like depending on the country's economy, like stuff like this, developing a skill like using Webflow and being able to provide work on Upwork, it's life changing. And this is like, you know, I think the important part of the story is that there's many ways of like approaching something, but sometimes you may live in a country or be in a region where there's just no jobs available or no opportunity. And I kind of like what you did is being like, I'm not going to wait for opportunity. I'm going to start on Upwork. I have the skill with PowerPoints. I'm going to start getting clients. I'm going to build my network. I'm going to develop additional skill. I'm going to learn Webflow. I'm going to reach out to my previous clients and like tell them about this new thing I'm doing. And you're really like hustling and you're working to build your business. And I think that's what a lot of like another takeaway, even though we're talking about Webflow, but what you're doing as a process is what makes you successful rather than the tool. And the tool is just a way for you to get stuff done quicker. But I just wanted to say like, yeah, that is like really amazing. And then after your first client, like what happened afterwards?
Okay, after my first clients, it really became like word of mouth. Is that the correct expression? And I started receiving a couple of offers. These people that were happy about the products that I was delivering, so they connected me to other people, and they recommended me to like bigger companies, basically because they were very nice with me, and they say like, hey, you were doing fantastic with it. So I know a friend of a friend that is creating this website for this type of industry. Like they are creating apps for Zoom. They are creating apps for I don't know what was the first kind of industries. Oh yeah, so the first industry that I participated on was like health industries. Like I was building websites for hospitals. I was building websites for little e-commerce for how to say that, for medicine, and even for the cannabis that was like starting to get some steam in the United States. Um, so yeah, it was a recommendation after recommendation until I get to a very big company, which is Deal.com, which is the payroll system that get very popular in the last 2 years. So that was like probably the biggest opportunity that I had, and it basically just blew my network. Like I met a lot of people with this big company, and at the end, because all of the clients that I had were super happy with the service that I was providing, I just end up like meeting nice people. I really, really, really wanted to be on the top of the game, so I practice every day the tool. I practice how to use it efficiently. Um, And on top of that, I was learning in depth what was web development. So it's really, really important that it doesn't matter if it is a no code, low code tool, but you really need to understand what's going on behind it,
Yeah.
because sometimes, or there will be a time that somebody or a client is going to ask you, hey, but how this actually works, right? Because we need to, I don't know, we need to step in that middle part of the process, and we need to, I don't know, create a branch in the code. So you have to understand what's going on in that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing daily. I'm preparing myself on a daily basis. I'm studying design. I'm studying web development. But yes, like trying to be on the top of the game, so my clients are happy with the work that I produce.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I looked at some questions. Bram was asking, how long did it take you to get used to the low code tools when you were starting out?
I mean, I'm getting used to it, but to get to a comfortable zone that I consider that will be like enough to offer it as a service, I would say 3 to 6 months of
Yeah.
practicing or learning the tools, because yes, you can just try to get jobs or to provide services, but at least you have to know the basics, like how the things work together, because you can just learn the tool on how the tool works, but you need to connect it, because the end point of a service is solve a plan. So you have to take it from A to B,
Yeah.
but the midpoint is the tool. But you have to know how to make the connections with the tool. So basically, yes, I would say like if you are very disciplined, it will be 3 to 6 months to get in
Yeah.
a very decent level.
Nice. Awesome. And Jad was asking, how much freedom do you have in Webflow to add your own code section on top if you wanted to?
uh, Complete freedom. I said at the beginning, like Webflow is just in the middle of design and development. You can just go hardcore development with Webflow, and it will help you to facilitate some of the hard coding parts because of the native solutions that the Webflow provides. But you can override those. You can, on top of overriding, you can add custom code to the heading of the project, to the body of the project, and even implement like coding by sections. So you have pretty much a lot of flexibility on that.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Like I like haven't used the Webflow, um, but I downloaded it the other day because I was like, I'm going to have a challenge for myself. I'm going to build a Webflow project, and I'm going to figure out how to hook it up, of course, to my favorite backend API creator, Strappy. Um, Everybody who watches my channel knows that I love Strappy. So I am going to do it because if I could come up with like a quick workflow where I could mock up simple business websites and hook it up to like a backend to add dynamic data, like I think that'll be pretty exciting. But without any like, we could continue talking about like all this stuff, but I think it'll be awesome to actually literally dive into Webflow and kind of have you walk us through some basic examples. And if people have questions in the comments, they could ask. And actually, Bram he re-asked his question. I I asked it, but I think we never answered it because, but he rephrased his question. He said, what would be the onboarding time be for a new team member? Let's say you're working on, in Webflow, you're working on a project and you need more help and you're hiring someone. Like, how quickly can someone get started with Webflow onboarding? Would you still say they would need to have that 3 to 6 months of experience, or can they like start learning as soon as they join the team?
Uh, if you have like a coding background, it would be like immediate thing. You
Mm.
can just jump into the project, because I work at an agency. I have a partner who is a developer, and this teammate, this boy, he's so talented. He just jumps into the project, into Webflow, And it was the first time he was using it because I was just building a website on that, and he knew everything I was doing just by looking at the tool. So
Nice.
it really depends on your background.
Yeah.
So if you don't know anything about coding or Webflow, it will be very hard. But if you have certain knowledge about coding, it will be like an immediate
And
recognition.
that is really cool to me because let's say you're a brand new beginner, you could start learning Webflow to build stuff while you're learning, let's say HTML, CMS, and CSS and JavaScript as well. And what's cool, it's like you could right from the start build cool things. And if you already have development background and you pick up Webflow as a tool, you're already familiar with everything it does. So it's just a way for you to start building things faster. And I like the fact that it's perfect for beginners and perfect for people who've been in the industry for a while to come together and meet in the middle. I think that's actually one of the powerful things that stands out for me. So I was going to say, yeah, if you want to like share your screen and kind of let's look at Webflow, talk about what it is and kind of walk us through like the example that you've done. And so let me know when you're ready and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, sure. All right, so this
Nice. Here we
is
go.
Webflow. Let me share my screen. Okay,
You were good. You're doing it great.
so this is Webflow, and is it fine? Am I sharing the screen?
Yeah. Yeah, you shared the screen. Sorry, it's my fault. I should have let you know because you can't see it in the videos that you're seeing from my tool that I'm using. Yeah, like so you're on screen. I see Webflow window. You're good to go.
Okay, perfect. So I want to mention other things like yes, Webflow could be like a beginner thing. You can just jump into this. It pretty much looks like Photoshop if you don't know anything about Webflow or dashboards like this, because Figma also looks like this. So Photoshop looks like this, and this thing pretty much relates it with all of these design tools. So that's cool. And okay, so this is the panel. We have like a white paper thing here where we are going to put the information or the, the structure of the website. So the really key concept about how Webflow works is that, and also how the websites work, is that it is built by blocks. So think about like layers of blocks or boxes that are within other boxes, and we have parent boxes and child boxes, and inside of a single box there are like a group of other boxes, and you have to align them and to organize them. So you and also you can apply some styling to those boxes. So let's start with a very basic structure here. So the first part that probably there is in every single website is the nav bar. So let's start with that. I have to mention there is two things that you can do here. So you can just build it from scratch, and you can use pre-made components that Webflow has. So the pre-made components is that you can just go into the layouts, and you can start looking for a navbar component here. So here in advanced we have navbar. So we can just click on that one, and it generates this navbar here. So it has pre-made stylings, but here in the navigator, in the left side, it shows you the layers that this little box that is navbar is containing. So in the navbar, you can just go into the properties here in the right hand, and you can start styling that box. So first of all, let's name the class of the box. So we are going to give it a name for this navbar. Although it says navbar, but here in the class name, we are going to override that class with something that makes sense to us. But in this case, it's just going to be called navbar, like that. So that's the navbar, and I can start changing the color of the background of this. Like right now is D, and we can change it to something else. We can just go and change it to just white, just like that. And here in the brand, this is a pre-made component. We can enter an image. So we can either use shortcuts like Command K like this and find something with it. But just for visual purposes, we are going to use this panel which allows me to visualize all of the components. So generally, we have to put like a logo in this section. That's something very common in websites. And let's choose an image. So I have like these random images, and I'm going to just choose something that, you know, we can use it as a logo. So probably this little shape can help us to build that. And we have other things in the box, and which are the links. And we have at the end main button. I'm going to explain that later, but let's right now style what we have right now. So this image, we can just go to the class naming, and we can just name it like nav bar underscore logo. And it right now has like automatic sizing, but I can stylize the sizing of this. So we are going to use pixels for this building because you can use other units, which is another topic, but pixels is the most common units for building. Let's use 100 pixels, which I think is kind of small, but well, it works fine with this. So we have this logo here. Um, we have a couple of other links, which the name can work for this example. So we're going to leave it like that. So we stylize the navbar color, and we have the logo here. So now let's go into this other box, which is nav menu. So we always start with the name of this navbar menu. So we gave it a class name, so we can just recognize it. And in the future, we can reuse this class for something else. So we have the navbar link. So let's go a navbar link. Let's name that. Let's copy the name and apply it to the other links. So we have the same class name. Um, so this is a very good example. So because I said, or I mentioned that we can reuse the names, is that items with the same name can share the classes. So that's a really important concept here. So let's say I'm going to make these links to have um, a pink, a soft pink color, just like that. So you can see that all of these three elements are sharing the same kind of pink color, so that helps. And at the end, I can use this container, which is an outsider container of these elements that we were uh, using. So this container can be named navbar container. And I can apply something that's called padding, which is a space in between, like this. And we can keep styling this. I'm going to go a little faster with that. I can add something that is called corner radius. And in between the links, I can add more space by using a property which is flexbox. I'm going to give it a gap of 24 points. And that's how we can, you know, start building something that looks like a little kind of NFT style. We are going in that direction here. So that's the navbar. So now let's create something that is also common, which is called section. And inside of section, we are going to drop something that is called container. So the containers are really, really important because if I'm not use that, if I don't use it, the width of the screens, because nowadays we use very large screens, all of the information could be scattered if I don't use containers. So let's assume that we don't have the container. And inside of the section, I'm going to put something that is called headline. So we look for that. Here in typography, we have a headline. So as you see, the headline is on the border of the website. And if I preview this, the headline right now is meeting the border of the page. So in order to avoid that, we are going to include a container inside of the section. So container goes inside of the section. Now it limits the width of what I have. So as you can see right now here in the navigator, I'm putting inside of each of the boxes the content. Now in this section, I can add more like vertical spacing like this. And I can pull a paragraph here. So paragraph goes below the headline. and I can start putting some content like NFTs 3.0, something like that. So, hey, this is a nice NFT website. Then I can add names for the headline, so I can style it more. Like this is a headline one, so I'm going to name it like this, heading
I
one.
was quickly going to
And I can
say,
change the color of this. I can use something that I call chemistry of colors. So I'm
nice.
going to select the color that I have in the headline, and I'm going to try to tune it up like around, I don't know, something that matches the same base color, but helps me to keep the chemistry of the colors in the website, in the canvas. I'm going to increase the font size. We have 16 points here, but I'm going to bump it to 40, probably more than that. Maybe double of it, 80. So that looks fine. I'm going to apply something that is called line height. So everything that I'm doing here is just properties that are going to apply to the styles of the components that I selected. So the height is going to be 1.2. I'm going to apply this dash, which is like a unit less, but it's going to be a multiplier for the spacing. So it works like that. And in top of this, I'm going to put an image to give it like more personality for this. So let's put an image block. And this image went outside of the container, so that's why it's meeting the border of the page. And I'm going to put it inside of the container. And now I'm going to select another image for it. I'm going to select, I don't know, this coffee looks fine. So let's close this. And you can see that the image is gigantic. So what I'm going to do is just rename it like NFT image 1. And I can use the properties of width, and let's make it 400 pixels. Yep, that kind of works. Maybe less than that, 300. And yeah, that's how more or less you start building like a homepage. I know that this is really basic, but it gives you the principles about how the layer of boxes works and how you can stylize things and share properties with the name conventions. And yep, so that's pretty much the basics of how Webflow works.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Here, let me bring you back to my other screen. Yeah, this is really awesome. What I was going to say, it's basically what I would do, let's say in my code editor with HTML and CSS. You're just doing in a nice like visual builder, which makes it like a lot easier because you're just able to focus on the design part of your website and everything else is done automatically. And I'm assuming you could export that HTML and CSS into like a project, and then if you wanted to as a developer could go over it and make changes if necessary. I'm not sure if he could hear me. Uh, hold on a second. Let me check my Twitter. By the way, in the YouTube comments, let me know if it's my audio or if Carlos is having a hard time hearing me. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It happens once in a while. So my audio is wide. Is I think. Let me just say, I think you are
I'm going to refresh.
okay. And we'll see if he comes back on. Yeah, probably muted me. I talk so much. It's like, yeah, I don't need to hear that guy, his opinions, whatever. Not fair enough. By the way, like I have a rule at work, like, cause I do talk a lot. I said at any point, anyone at work could tell me to just shut up. you know, and I'm not like disrespected by it because I know that I love to talk and engage in conversations. But to your question, like Jed, I think like it really depends on like how you deploy the project. I'm sure like Webflow has a standard way, but you could probably do other things. And I saw in an article like they said like you could easily put it like to CloudFront and do all that other great stuff. So yeah, that's the wonders of like the live stream. When things go wrong, they do go wrong, and that's practically normal. The funniest thing, when I started working at Strappy and I started doing my first live streams there, every like the first 4 streams, something went horribly wrong. Like something like didn't work, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" But that's when I realized if you're gonna go live, you better just be okay with like, hey, I can't control what I can't control. And that is okay to me. By the way, like while I'll be waiting for Carlos to come back, hopefully he'll come back. Let me just say, use the same link as before to join. If you can. Oh, here he is. He's back. Nice. Hello, hello. Hold on a second. Let me add you back on. Yeah, to the right. Hey, can you hear me now? Oh no.
Yes, I don't know what happened there.
Okay, now I could hear you because it's fine. That's the live streams. That's normal. I was just kind of saying while you were gone that when I started working at Strappy, my first like 4 or 5 live streams, something terribly went wrong on every one of them. But yeah, one question Jad was asking, and I'm not sure if you know the answer, but when you fully build a website and you deploy it, like first of all, like what deployment options do you have if you know them? I know it's like there's many ways of doing things, and how performant are they? I'm not sure. You can't hear us. Oh no. Can you hear us? Can you not hear us? Oh no. Yeah. Well, technical difficulties. We'll figure something out. But we made it through the demo. That was like the best part. We made it through the first part of the stream without any issues. The tail end, that's pretty much done with everything. But I did want to maybe have some other questions. But we could always do round 2. While we kind of figure stuff out. But it happens to the best of us. By the way, if you watched any of my streams, you'll be like, technical difficulties, Paul, that's like your middle name. That's like what you do. But let's try again. Let's try again here. Oh. Hello, hello, hello. Up. Well, it is what it is, but it was amazing, to go through what we did. And I'm going to try again. Let's see if we could make it work. Hello. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you. Okay, nice. Sorry again. I don't know. The internet's going.
Yeah, no worries about it. I was telling really people, like, when you do things live, it is what it is. But I was also saying, like, we made it through the most important part. We talked about what Webflow is. We talked about, like, the industry. We talked about, you gave us a basic walkthrough. Now, what I was saying, like, before now we had the difficulties is, like, it's kind of cool because literally what you're doing in Webflow is what I would do, like, inside my code editor. And you have, like, an easier way where you're just focusing on the most important part, which is building your website visually to get it done. And we did have a question. I'm not sure if you heard me say it. Jad was wondering, like, how performant are the websites when they're fully coded and deployed? And we could start with that part.
It really depends on how you use the best practices for it. I mean, you have to optimize the images for web. You have to carry, that your buildings are correct in the semantic manner because of accessibility, because of how you help Google to read your website. So that's with HTML tagging. So basically, if you have good practices, you can have probably a very, very, very great loading sites in terms of performance. Like um, websites with Webflow are very snappy. They load super fast, but you have to obviously take care of what you're putting inside of the website. If you start loading it with background videos of 30 megabytes or things like that, probably it's not going to load fast because first your bandwidth. So the lighter websites you can build with Webflow, the snappy they're going to be. Webflow also takes care of using like a resizing that is natively inside of Webflow. Like Webflow takes care of like large files and is going to display large files or medium files or small files based on your width of the screen. So Webflow takes care of most of the part that so you don't have to worry too much about performance. But it goes hand by hand. Webflow helps you, but also if you help Webflow with good practices, the loading speeds or the performance, speaking in general, is going to be great.
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to like explore Webflow. And I think the most important part, and this is why I love like bringing all types of different people to the podcast, is for anybody watching the channel, like please understand, like I might have a personal feeling and opinion of what I like to do, but there's many ways to accomplish the same goal. And so like I don't want to have a channel where I just talk about anything I like. It's also nice to bring people on to introduce you to new technologies, new different ways of building things. I even had somebody come and talk about Vue.js, which I don't really care for Vue.js. Sorry, all the Vue.js lovers out there. But like to me, it's hey, here's what's available, and you play with it, and you decide how does it fit in your workflow. A tool is just a tool, but the most important part that you're alluding to is like you need to use best practices. You need to um, the thing that you're using, you have to know it very well. You have to approach things in a professional manner. So, like, to be successful, it's not the fact it's Webflow or the fact that there's like JavaScript, or the fact that you know you're using whatever insert name of tool, but you still need to be a good developer. You need to know your domain knowledge. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to do it in a professional way, which builds trust for people to either hire you back again or recommend you to others. And so let's see if there's any like last. And by the way, yeah, if anybody has any questions, definitely throw them here. And
Uh,
not sure if I understand like Bram's question. Should you not just talk about the tools to test for that accessibility and images, et cetera, et cetera? Are you asking how would you test the performance of your website built with Webflow? I'm not sure, Bram. Sorry.
um, well, for testing purposes, you can use many tools around. I recommend Lighthouse, which
Yeah, I
is a
was about
tool
to
to.
say, can't you use Lighthouse? Yeah.
Yeah, you can use. It's just a website, and you can test it with whatever you want, like heat maps, loading speed, performances, accessibility tools, because
Nice.
there is so many things that you can use for it. And also, Webflow is built or has good practices for accessibility. It helps Google to recognize what is a drop down, what is a headline, what is a button. It gives you the ability to add like alt text for images in case you need like reading software for people who has um, some of the disabilities for using websites. For instance, very recently, I built a website for blind people, and I just built it with Webflow.
Oh, nice.
So It's a fantastic tool. Again, it is a tool. It doesn't mean that it's the best in the world. It's just the tool that works for me, that works for the industry that I serve for, and you have to do it in a professional way. Like if you want to be the best, you have to really own your game with that.
Yeah, so like at the end of the day, a tool is a tool, but the secret is the person that's using it. Oh my God, Artur, why you like someone in the comments knows my dislike for Vue.js, and he has to make a comment. Vue.js is better than React, hence you can't care of it. Exactly, or just old and stubborn, and you only care about your great old Irish screwdriver, while there's a pretty electric one called Vue.js. Yeah, honestly, to me, I use Remix, and Remix is the most bestest ever framework ever. Better than Next.js, better than Vue.js, better than PHP, Artur, and better than anything else. But yeah, Artur always pokes fun at me. We have like a good back and forth. But at the end of the day, to be honest, all joking aside, we don't want anybody to take our comments literally. Um, but what Artur will tell you and what anybody will tell you is like at the end of the day, you need to build a product for your client, and whatever method or tool you decide to use, it's irrelevant as long as it's the tool that allows you to get the job done. So I was going to say, any last, because I do want to be mindful of your time. We're approaching the hour mark, but I was going to say, are there any parting words or things that you want to mention? Where could people follow you or find you, if they have questions around, um, Webflow and stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm on Twitter. Probably you can share the name of my account there. So you can find me like at Carl Sepulve.
Yeah, you could put,
Is
yeah, I'll put it in the, yeah, I'll share in the comments. Hold on, let me go into Twitter.
So very recently, I'm opening a YouTube channel for Spanish speakers. I really want to bring help for the community with Webflow. So I've been learning a lot, and I'm happy to connect with everybody who has questions, because that's uh, what right now I'm planning on doing. Like that's my objective this year, to solve questions, help people, and yeah, just connect with me. I'm very happy to meet new people.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Really amazing to have you here, and to many more conversations. And again, like the power of networking, I always talk about on my channel, opportunity comes from you talking to people. So Carlos and I, we met on a plane. I think we were flying to California. And we just started a conversation, and here we are. And this is how networking starts: word of mouth, talking to people. So, a lot of people who are looking to find opportunity, looking to find jobs, they think about blindly sharing resumes. But the secret is to getting out there, going to meetups, meeting people, building relationships with people in your network. And that's how the opportunities will come. And by the way, I like the fact that, a lot of the accessibility stuff gets handled by Webflow, and using tools like, Page Speed Insight will dictate. I just wanted to, yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I think that's very powerful, because a lot of times people build websites and they don't think about the performance of their websites. For instance, that's something you got to keep in mind. And by the way, just to plug in like what I'm doing, I love building stuff with Remix. Remix is the most amazing front end framework. Well, it's a full stack framework. And since we were speaking of Lighthouse, I went and I was like, let me take a look at Lighthouse. And so I didn't do any optimization to my website, but I'm doing pretty good. I got to fix my SEO. And the reason why SEO is bad, because I don't think I implemented it in my website. But Remix is really, really fast when it comes to performance. And I just wanted to do some shameless love. I don't get paid by Remix, by the way, but I wanted to plug them in anyway because they're awesome. Uh, but yeah, it is amazing. So what is for you in like, what are your goals? So you mentioned your YouTube channel, like helping the community, creating stuff in Spanish, which I think is amazing. because there's a lot of people that don't speak English as their native language, and unfortunately, there's not enough of resources, you know, in terms of coding in like other places. So I think that's like really, really amazing that you're doing this.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the goals for this 2023 is yeah, help expanding the Spanish community for Webflow. I'm being supported by the communities we have, a large Argentinian community. Probably there are like 3 Webflowers in Colombia that I know. Probably there are more, and I'm happy to know if there are more. But there are not many Webflowers in Latin America. So we are trying to expand it because, first of all, it allows you to connect with industries. So connection is really important, and you don't have to rely on like local community economies to do well. So like I said, probably making $1,000 a month, it is not enough to live in California, for instance, but could be a life changer if you are living in a country in South America, because the minimum wage here is around $300 per month. That's what people has as an income, and that's the 50% uh, of the people here. I don't recall the name for that in English, but yeah, that's the statistics. And making around 3K, which is relative to be like the minimum wage in United States, is what you can just charge for one website. So it's a life changer if you can just
Wow.
develop 2 websites per month.
Yeah, that is,
So yeah.
yeah, really, really amazing. And to your point, making $100,000 is not enough to live in California, to be honest. But you know what's interesting? Like, so I really like think like this idea of developing a skill that you could work remotely and find your own clients. I think it's like pretty cool because part of like, um, you know, a lot of questions we get from a lot of people living in other countries is that exactly that. It's that the amount of money you get paid like working for somebody else is not enough to make like a change in your life, and that's why a lot of people from other places pursue things like Upwork to try to get their own clients, because they really don't have like the same opportunities as someone in the States has. So two things I want to say: if you're living in the United States and you're complaining there's no jobs, like shut up. Like don't complain. Like just understand like there's plenty of opportunity in US. And one of the hardest things like in just be thankful and lucky that you live here. And I really, it's awesome to see that you found your path and you're able to change your life, because it is life changing. I've used to go my fiance used to be from Thailand, and I used to go there all the time. And there's so many people that want to work, and there's either no jobs available or there are jobs available and they pay like a couple of dollars a day, which is not enough to do anything. And kind of seeing that is just like so heartbreaking that there's like a lot of people like, oh, I live in England, I live in America or like whatever. And it's like, you're not the whole world. And so it is very important to be mindful and to know that in other parts of the world, things work differently. And it's the more ways you could educate people to find their own path, if it's doing Upwork, if it's using Webflow, if it's finding their own clients, like to somebody that could be a life-changing experience. And like in your case, that has been the thing, because hey, you're traveling all over the world now because of what you do, and that's got to be pretty awesome.
So yeah, I'm going to United States again in 1 month. I'm going to meet my team, my agency, because I work for an agency that is based in South Carolina. I love working with them. Has been like a great relation. It's like a tremendous, amazing, positive relation with them. We are working for biotech companies right now. We are doing amazing. And yeah, so that's my case, because I put the hard work on that. So I really encourage you, like, it doesn't matter if you're living in the United States and if you're American or European or I don't know, whoever you are, if you put the hard work on that, you're going to succeed. It's just a matter of time. And just like a shocking fact, here where I live in this small village, the average income per family for, let's say, kind of a poor-ish family here is $100 per month. It's a
Wow.
shocking fact.
Wow.
So you cannot do anything with that. And well, I have my own problems here to connect it to the world because the internet here is really bad, as you may notice. So I have to connect with satellite internet. I have to pay for it, but well, that's my business. I have to solve
Yeah.
that kind of problems. That's my business. That's nothing that I can think about that. So, but yeah, so do well. Be very um, optimistic about your goals. Be very persistent, and with time, hard work, and consistency, everything is possible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. It's an amazing story. So it's very important for people to kind of take a worldview and kind of count their blessings if they have them and not try to feel entitled to anything, because at the end of the day we all have to work hard to get to where we do. And it's amazing to hear stories like yours, because you have to deal with a lot more adversity than someone like in my situation. And like it's very important to acknowledge that, because it's like a lot of people don't realize that just because someone has it easy doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have it hard. And the fact is that we all have our own challenges. So like you might have your particular challenges, I might have what my particular challenge. And like at the end of the day, the most important like thing that you could do is do the best you can. And like you said, like become the best developer you can, learn the tools that you're using, be professional. Like all those things that I say are common sense knowledge, but a lot of people, like I get questions on this channel. It's like, what's the fastest way to get a job as a developer? Like, can I do it in 30 days? I'm like, but no, you need to become good. Like, so I'll tell a little story. So I started learning to code very late in my life, and I used to go to interviews and never get hired. And I'll be like, these people, it's ageism. It's because I'm like 39, 38, they just don't want to see an old guy. That's the thing. And then I realized it wasn't the fact that I was old, it's that I didn't have the skill that they were looking for. And so it was literally the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. And once I got to a certain level of skill, and I'm going to actually say, I still believe there's ageism. I still think like I think it's illegal to do that. But at the same time, I still feel there's, because I talked to a bunch of people where, especially in the design world, like once you're in your 40s, like nobody wants to hire you. I don't know if it's true, by the way. But at the end of the day, like it's your skill. Can you do the thing that people are asking for? And that is the thing that, I want to point out, is that at first I thought it was ageism, and then I realized it's like, no, I just don't have whatever skill I thought I had was not enough to land a job that I wanted. And so the best thing anybody could do in whatever thing you're doing is develop the skill and do something daily to continue to improve. As soon as you stop learning, that's when you're going to stop progressing. And that's my favorite part about development in general, is that it constantly requires you to learn new things. So anybody that becomes lazy with learning new things, they're going to become irrelevant. And to me, that's like a superpower, because if I do something today to learn something new, I'm going to stay relevant for the rest of my career. And that's amazing. But yeah, like thanks so much for being here. And let's see if there's any last questions before we go. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you for introducing Webflow, and I'm sure we'll have more conversations. And I know I asked, but I didn't pay enough attention. Do you have the link to your YouTube channel yet, or are you still in the process of building it?
I have it, so I can share it. But again, it's going to be in Spanish.
Yeah.
I have another
Anybody
one in
wants to
English,
practice
but
their Spanish, there you go. There you go.
there you go.
I used to try to learn Spanish before, because I'm like so old that like I've had like I'm not that old. I'm 42, but I've had like an amazing journey to a point where I was married like once and got divorced. And so my ex-wife was from Mexico. So I had to like learn Spanish so I could talk to her family. but I already forgot it, which is terrible. So I'll have to like see if I could watch your channel and pick it back up. I think it's important. Here's another crazy thing I was going to say, completely like off topic. Any place in the world you go to, everybody's at least bilingual. United States is the only country where like English number one, and then whatever Spanish or French I learned in high school, I don't remember. But any other country you go to, I've been to like Thailand, people speak at least like Thailand in English. Like, I've been to like every country I go to, like people like are bilingual because they know there's opportunity in like speaking a second language. And I think that's also really, really cool and amazing. So I work at Strappy, and so I'm like, I need, it's a French company. So I'm like, I need to learn some French as well, and Spanish. Yeah, it's just so nice. But its struggle is real. But yeah, that's awesome. Anyway,
Yeah, yes.
I
You
was
have to
going to say,
embrace it. You have to embrace the struggle. That's the way. If you don't embrace the
100%.
struggle,
Embrace the suck, as they say. Because for me, here's the thing. Like, whenever I started being like, hey, today I'm going to wake up and something's going to go wrong. It's normal. That's normal part of life. You're just going to have to try to figure out and solve it. And if you set that as like expectation, you like literally never have a bad day, because like, hey, something's going to go wrong today, and that's normal part of life, and I'm going to have to work through it to figure it out. But then when things don't go wrong, it's just like a pleasant surprise. So for me, like, people say that's very pessimistic. And to me, I'm like, no, that's actually very optimistic, because I'm setting realistic expectations. And so whenever you're learning new things, just understand things are going to be hard. There's going to be a struggle, but it's worth it doing the work. So anyway, I am going to talk forever if you let me. So I'm just going to say thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your knowledge of Webflow. I'm sure we'll have more streams in the future if you ever want to come back, if I didn't scare you off. And thanks for being here. And everybody who's in the chat, thanks for being here. And Carlos, any last final words before we go?
no, I'm very thankful for being here, for being here as well. So I know I really appreciate everything. I really appreciate meeting you, meeting all of these people. So that's nice, really nice.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see everybody later. Take care and goodbye.